starting the stream.
It's started.
We already started. He don't even know. What's up, family? Oh yeah, it's a beautiful day, no doubt. Every day is a good day. Every day is a good day, and we made that determination some time ago. Nerd, as alchemists. Yep, because we are the creators.
That's right.
We create our own reality, fam. All of us.
All right.
Come on in. Yeah, we live and direct. We coming here from our Facebook if you want to come from here. But also, you'll be able to tune in with, is that the YouTube you're coming in on over there?
Yeah, I got it on
How's
YouTube.
that going to work for them? Because if I'm coming from here, they won't hear Sister Gainer from here. They only hear me.
Oh, oops.
Is that right?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. This is for people who only care about you, I guess. Here, let me go share it on your profile.
Hey, fam, actually, I'm going to get off of this live stream. And there's a link being sent to my live stream right now. And you're going to want to use that link to get in. You're not going to want to be on here, all right? So I'm shutting this down. So go ahead and sign off. And
I'll get it shared over to your profile right now.
It's coming right over right now, fam. Did you hear that, fam? Hey, Belinda, check my news feed. I'm sending over a link for you to get into the actual podcast for today. This is not it. So go ahead and sign off this one. See you soon. Brother Gary, yeah, go ahead, my brother. It's coming over right now. Yeah, my bad, so meet you over there. I'll meet you over there in a little bit. All right, see you over there. This is not the place. Look for the link.
Boom, it's done. Oh, it's telling me we're having trouble completing my request. Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. It won't let me do it. It's making me a liar now, Sifu. Oh, that's okay. We'll figure it out.
You always do. We got all day. We're going to do this anyway, regardless of who's here, who's not there.
That's true.
We're going to do what we do. We're here to share. And we have...
Who did you send over to your profile?
Whole soul group. I had 5 people.
Gary, Belinda.
Specifically so, but everybody else, I don't know who it was.
All right, well, I tagged them in this post that gets them over here to the live, so.
Where's that post at?
It's on my profile.
Yeah, but I got all my people who want to see it. They're not going to go to your profile looking for it.
Well, I tagged you in it, so if they're scrolling through their feed and they are tagged into your profile, they should get noted. I also tagged the entire Tai Chi 360 group.
Yeah, the thing is, when you tag me as an individual, I have to accept that tag the way I have my page set up. Or it won't go into the public and see. I did that because
Gotcha. All right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Okay, Sister Gaina, are you too excited now?
I'm just right now.
Good.
Just
Fantastic. Right. Good. Perfectly then. All right. Let's get this camera nice and suited up to where we want to be. Is that where we want to be? Oh, that's the wrong one, huh? I'm too good for my own good. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect.
Which type 360 is page if you put it in?
The group. All right.
Please check Tai Chi 360 for link to the podcast.
Fantastic. All right, we're rolling. Yes.
Come on in, let's go ahead. So, group, family, come on mean, we got them taken care of. How's everybody doing today? How about that? That's very important. How are you feeling today, family? I know I just woke up. I just woke up feeling super fantastic. Yeah, how you feeling today, sister? How are you?
I'm really well.
Thank you.
Great.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm feeling well. I'm feeling very good myself. Super excited, honored to say the least to have this time with you.
Yes.
Thank you for allowing us to do so. And this is going to be quite interesting because, you know, we like to keep it kind of like free flow, casual, and just sharing what we know. We're not coming here to be professionals, although we are very professional. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, we're just sharing our life experience with people, and we keep it as such. Soul group. So I want you to feel the same way. That's what we do. So let's go. What are we talking about today? Why are we here? You see?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. I'll get us
Let me get
started
my
off
tea.
here, Sifu.
Let me get my tea.
So, everybody, soul group, family, Tai
Oh,
Chi
that's for you,
practitioners, people who care about their health. We're here today, more or less, to talk in regards to diet, but not necessarily just diet. We're also including consumption of all ramifications or sorts into the topic. And yeah, and we're gonna do our best to cover all three of the bodies. Jing, Qi, Shen. What is that? Body, mind, emotions, and soul, spirit.
Right,
Is that right?
that's right.
Body language.
Yeah, how is everything basically influenced from the things that, like Brother Peyton just said, he talked about diet, but the way I like to look at diet, some people think of going on a diet.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about consumption in totality, because we're all consumers, no matter if we think we are or not. We're all consumers. Now, we're also highly productive, and we encourage everybody else to be highly productive as well. But we're all consumers. Can you not hear me, sister? Am I talking too low?
I missed the last word.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Bring that over here, bro. You know how to handle that Bama Jam? Let me
Yeah,
hold it.
I got it.
I want you closing out something that I want to keep up.
I won't. I got you.
Okay, good. Yeah, so, yeah, I tend to talk a little low sometimes. I'm thinking I have the mic on. So my apologies. It's not your hearing at all.
Could be a bit of both.
But my point was basically I said we talk about the word diet, you know, and a lot of people think of diet as being something bad. It almost sounds like die, you know, and they think they're dying. But we're not talking about dieting by any means. We're talking about consumption, you know, and what do we consider to be consumption? First of all, we're all consumers, you know, and as I was saying, hopefully most people are as productive as we are, because we're highly productive as well, and we're all here to be productive, you know.
Exactly.
You know, so, and we can overconsume, we can misconsume. We're going to talk about all of those things. What is consumption? And what is diet from different standpoints? And you're going to give us a perspective coming from Chinese medicine standpoint, acupuncture theory. Where are you coming from?
Okay. Well, my own experience is from two different sources, but as an acupuncturist, often in clinic, I have people who come in, and one of the first things I ask them is, what do you like to drink?
What do you like to drink?
Yeah. And often what I find is their favourite drink first thing in the morning is coffee. And when we talk about coffee consumption, very often people's symptoms are exacerbated, and they don't even think about coffee being such a strong stimulant on the body. Now, we're coming from, as an acupuncturist, I often give the advice, well, why not give your body a rest? Why not have a break from caffeine just for a short time and see how you feel? And quite often people don't go back to it, which is really lovely for them. They feel the health benefits by giving their body a rest from it. Now, caffeine does certain things to the body. It's one of my favourite things. I asked everybody, and they were so kind on the Tai Chi group that we have. They shared what their habits were, and it's really for my own personal study, research. It's not for anything official. It's nothing formal in any way, and it's lovely to see how people use tea and coffee. Now, they have their place. They have their place, but when we're doing a 100-day program and we're looking at becoming sensitive, becoming aware, we become much more sensitive. Now, I could share the story that I shared with Sifu. I did some very silly thing the other day, so please do not do what I've done, okay? This is a caveat. This is do not do. This is please beware, okay? And I'm going to share it if it's okay with you, Sifu.
Absolutely,
okay? The other day, I got in touch with Sifu because I was very sick. I had rebellious stomach chi, and I was aspirating, and I don't need to say any more than that. And it was also going the other direction as well. And I rang Sifu and I asked, I said, is this part of the process, and is this okay? And spot on. And one of the questions he asked me, or you asked me, was, have you had any red meat? Now, I'm not vegetarian, and I don't wish to, everyone to their own, but I don't actually eat red meat very often. Whilst we're going through this process, I've noticed I've become much, much more sensitive. And on the day in question that I wasn't very well, I had had a piece of red meat. I had had a grilled lamb chop, which was very delicious. It was a little lamb that had grown in the field right next to where I live, so I knew exactly where to come from. I knew it was very high quality meat and was slaughtered here. And then I ate it. I didn't think anything of it until a little bit later on. And then I realised that was not the best move to do whilst we're doing a 100-day program. So we do need to be, I personally feel, and I'm sure that there's lots of us on the program and also doing our own studies and training, we become more sensitive to processed foods, refined sugars, refined foods. And what does that mean? I think it's different both in the UK and in the United States, probably in Australia as well, probably with our friends over in Canada as well. But we do know that sugars, once they're processed in any way, aren't as good for us as they could be. But plenty of other foods as well that we just naturally go to, and we don't think about what we're eating. We just go to the cupboard, we go to the store, and we buy whatever it is that we've always bought. For the last few years, I've been working on growing my own food as well. It's probably not as easy as you guys over there in Florida, with all the sunshine all day long.
I'm sure. We can drop a seed and it grows.
Well, we have probably some of the most fertile soil here in Wales, on the whole planet. It is the most wonderful soil, and we have a lot of water, and we have not so much sun, which is why we have polytunnels. We do a lot of the growing inside. But that way, I can ensure that what I'm consuming, what I am actually ingesting, is going to be the best that I can possibly provide. It's got my energy going into it to start with, and then it has that energy and the ground and the sun then enter into me. And that food has a very high vibrational frequency to it. And I'm sure that that's something that we all need to be very aware of whilst we're going through any kind of a program or training to become more sensitive. So I'm personally going to suggest that whilst I'm training, I'm not going to be eating ice cream. I'm not going to be doing coffee or tea. And I haven't been. Since that day, I just thought, why did I do that?
Right.
I think I needed to do it for the lesson, actually. I needed to remind myself, because I am my own best teacher, is I had to go through that process and realise, do you know what? I don't think I need to eat red meat. I just need to have high-level, good quality proteins. It doesn't have to be meat in order to do that. So that's kind of just reminded me, Gaynor, you're doing this program. You're more sensitive. Be aware. So coming back to you. So what do you like to eat?
Can I interject there for?
I want to
Please
join
do.
that conversation.
Ooh, I got something real quick I want to throw in about ice cream in particular.
Yes.
Right.
When we're trying to increase the flow of the chi and the blood, throwing cold stuff into our bodies is probably not the best idea, regardless of what it is.
It shocks your system.
Right.
It does. You've ever had something like a slushy in your...
So that was all I wanted to bring up, family. That was it.
So I wanted to reflect on what you just built here, which is a beautiful setting. Your personal testimony that you talked about, your experience.
Yes.
I want to go back to where you said that you decided to consume some red meat, right?
I did.
And then your body, you said your body has become very sensitive. So
Yes.
when you say that it's become very sensitive, that means that it's going to give some type of response that a lot of other people may not have gotten as easily. Is that what you mean by that? Would somebody else may have get that without the training, that same response that you got? Or do you think that the training has something to do with the response?
I'm going to say, for me, I think it's because I'm quite focused on the training. It's got me back in touch with training I've done in the past, my practice of the past. This has been really wonderful to be able to get back to my training again.
Right.
So maybe if someone's just starting on their journey and they're on their day 27 of this particular program, we need to ask, we need to find out from our fellow group how they're feeling, if they've had any diarrhea, if they've had any vomiting, if they've had any phlegm reactions, if they're coughing, because these can all be from the foods and the things that we're consuming. It might be that we enjoy a cigarette. It might be that we enjoy a drink of alcohol. You know, all of these are going to be personally more enhanced. I mean, I'm a complete lightweight now. I quite enjoy a glass of red wine with a meal. Not right now. Not right now.
Right.
Not
So
right now.
very, very interesting. Very interesting.
It's too much. And for me, what we're doing is we're learning a process, an internal process. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Is this process that we're doing? We wish to eat foods that aren't going to overstimulate us right now. Whilst we're doing this 100 days.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
About 14 years ago, I did a 100-day program then. And that was great fun too. And in that time, as Peyton was saying, ice cream was a no-no. Right. Ice, no-no, on every level. It touches the spleen, and the spleen has to work extra hard to make it warm again in order for us to enjoy it. Right. So the spleen pancreas.
So if you think down
sugary things.
So I was going to say, so if you think down like on the cellular level, what's going on, right? Our body always has a constant balance when we have, when we have optimal health. You know, everything that comes into our body is being digested, per se, no matter what it is. And that process, no matter whether it's receiving light through our eyes, that's a form of consumption. You know, all exchanges of energy are going to create some type of free radical in our body, right? And to neutralize free radicals or to balance free radicals, our body produces antioxidants, but only at a very, not so high level. So, long story short, the free radicals could have been in your particular situation. You're super sensitive because you've been working, right? Mm-hmm. These free radicals coming from that meat, you don't have the antioxidant level to neutralize that. Now your body goes into a inflammatory response.
It did.
That is the release on the bottom. That is the inflammatory response, because that's what the body does. It goes to inflammatory response right away. That's the first stage of healing. Now, if it stays in that inflammatory response too long, now we got rheumatoid arthritis or X, Y, and Z, or so we want to eventually eliminate all of the things that cause free radicals. No coffee today for me, right? Didn't I tell you that?
You did.
No coffee. I usually have one every day. It became a ritual, but why am I doing it? I know it's a free radical. They say 8 ounces is not terrible, but do I need it? I don't think I need it. I'm giving it a go.
Well, I'm finding I'm feeling good for it, actually. I've nearly always had, I shouldn't say this, but it's true. I have a coffee before I go into clinic to sharpen my mind. Now, we understand, we know the benefits, we know what these things do for us.
Right.
But I actually, since I've been on the program for the last 27 days, it's a no-no. And actually, I can still treat people. I can still do acupuncture. I don't need that coffee. So it's a time for us to also reflect, exactly as you say, what are our habits? What are our attachments to certain things, certain foods, certain consumptions that we have? What are the habits we have and why? Right. I think it's a really good question. Really good way to look.
Yeah. So ultimately, it comes down to, once again, like you said, you got to pay attention to your body and see what information your body gives you in regards to what you're doing to it. But the first stage is being observant of that. Most people aren't paying attention to their food because they don't love their food. They love the taste of their food. And you're just talking about the love of food. You knew that lamb was taken care of. You knew that that lamb walk around every day is full of nutrients. You knew all of this, so you had that connection, but
it's still no good for me today.
Right, but we must have that if we're talking about doing alchemy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why we're talking about it today, because it doesn't have to be forever if we don't wish it to be forever, but for the time of 100 days, we definitely need to be.
Froze on us. Uh-oh.
I wonder if it's on her end.
Gotta be. We don't have nothing pumping over here but that.
It's true.
Yep. Oh, that was getting right where we wanted to go. You see how she talked about loving the animals and all of that? That's stuff that people don't even think about. Where's your food being sourced? Who packaged your food? Were they pissed off that day? Who prepared
I'm
your
redialing
food?
her.
Did the angry farmer down the street grow your food? All that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, my good brother.
Tune in at any time, bro.
Yeah.
I don't want to take over the conversation.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. If I feel the need to say anything, I certainly will.
No, I'm talking to Brother Ali. He ain't saying nothing.
Well, I wanted to touch on how you were bringing up how the body has to warm up anything cold that you put in it. Yeah, right. And that has to do with water also.
They got it, People's got to think about what is your body
there we go.
temperature. All right.
We back at it.
Sorry about that, everybody. It just disappeared.
Me too.
I love technology, don't you?
Yay!
Oh yeah. If it wasn't for technology, I wouldn't know you.
It's so convenient until it's not.
Do you know, I think we would have known one another. But
we always have known each other. We just meeting again.
Yeah.
And I do believe that. I do believe that to my heart, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
Have
Hence the reason
Have you ever noticed people eating different foods don't take the time, like a wine connoisseur? He'll take a sip of wine and run it around in his mouth and taste it. We should do foods the same way, rather
I
than
do.
just
I do.
chunking
Oh,
it
no,
down.
you're absolutely right. If you just eat a carrot, okay, a beautiful carrot, organic carrot. I don't know what you say in America. Do you say
All of that.
organic?
We say all of that.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
a nice organic carrot, stick it and boil it. It's beautiful for women in particular. It's a nice yin food. It's very warming. It's very sweet. So a carrot,
Which
stick
color
it in the
carrot?
water.
The purple one?
Oh, any carrot.
Mm.
Any
wow.
carrot at all. I don't mind. They can be purple, blue, green.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
not green.
I never had
Orange.
Yeah.
And then boil it in water, a nice, get it to a nice rolling boil, and then you eat that carrot, and you're absolutely right, Ollie. It tastes amazing. And to take your time to enjoy food, and that way we get the most from the food, because the process of eating starts with the eyes, as you said. You consume with the eyes first of all.
I know you too.
Oh.
There's a lot of love
Middle
going
here.
on. I'm missing it. I want to be there. I want to be part
Come
of that.
on, girl.
Yeah. How much does
Join
it
the
cost?
crowd, baby girl. Come on.
Yeah, have you met? Have you met?
No.
Yeah, this is Brother Ollie. This is the medicine man.
How do you do, my dear? Nice to meet you, Sifu.
I have been listening to you.
Yeah,
and I've
he
been
does
really enjoying
Tweena, acupuncture, distance healing, remote healing, hands-on, you name it. The man is full.
it. That's what I like.
Changed
That's
my
what I
life.
love.
Changed my life.
Changing mine.
Thank you. That's so awesome of you guys.
Mm.
And it's an honor to meet you, my dear.
Yeah, so what were you
Oh,
saying?
and you too.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do it in real time at some point as well. But
Oh, we'll do this
in the
again as well.
meantime,
Always. However we can connect. Absolutely.
absolutely.
What were you saying
So,
about the temperature, brother?
People don't realize that cold thing shocks the body. And it takes a little longer for it to actually warm up into the system. But in the meantime, just like a Slurpee or something, I've seen that with many people just take a big gulp and they have a brain freeze. That's not that's not the way to cool your body down. There's many other ways of cooling the body without shocking the system.
Yeah.
Just putting water on the wrists
Yeah.
is a really good way to.
It's funny. I learned that from my great-grandmother. You know these ancient
did
things?
you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one that she will give us. And what a lot of people don't think about, our body should maintain an optimal temperature. Internal environment should be stabilized. And every time that it goes out, it has to do things to get back into a homeostatic flow again. So all the organs are going to have to do something. All the way down on the chemical level, you have just caused your body stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the reasons when people come to me for acupuncture. Of course, they're already in a place of either pain or pain or discomfort. Nearly always, it's a condition of some kind.
Yeah.
So we have to eliminate some of the things that might be causing the imbalance, causing the stress, and then start from there, and then bring in nourishing foods and things of that kind. There is a really good book that I use as a reference all the time, and I hope. Do you mind if I just mention it so other people might
Please.
Look for it?
Absolutely.
It's called Healing with Whole Foods, and it's by a gentleman called Paul Pitchford. It's Berkeley Press, so it's an American author, and it's absolutely brilliant. I've got the second edition or third edition, and it's wonderful because it marries Western eating patterns with Chinese medicine, and it brings about a very good understanding.
What was his name again? What was the author's name again?
Paul Pitchford.
Paul Pitchford.
How would you spell that last name?
I've been hunting. I think I must have loaned the book to
PITCH.
someone, which is really. I don't lend my books, my reference books, but I cannot find it. I've been hunting all evening. So, but it's a brilliant book that I use for referencing all the time because it tells us the really good places to things that we can do, foods that we need for certain conditions. If you have a yin deficiency or if you're excess, the sorts of foods that would be of great help, with recipes in there as well. But it gives you a lot of background from the Chinese medicine. But what's so special is it brings West and East together.
Yeah.
And I think that particular blend is important because, of course, that's what we are. We're not Chinese. I'm not Chinese.
Right, exactly.
So, and that's it's a really helpful book.
I want to ask you a question, too. In regard to temperature of food or cold food, like Brother Ali mentioned, what do you teach to your people,
To my students.
Yeah. Or do you teach anything in regard to that?
It depends. If we're doing lots of kidney exercises, then I would ask people to make sure that they keep a lot of body fluids, drink body fluids, drink lots of fluids.
Right, to be hydrated, right.
Yeah, rehydrate, but not with tea or coffee. I tend to ask people to abstain for 24 hours just to give their body a chance.
All right.
Easy foods, quite often, because we live in a temperate climate over here, it's can be chilly. I tend to ask people to avoid raw food or cold food until the height of the summer. I mean, our summer is quite short. So I would say, and lots of people say, oh no, but I eat really healthily because I eat all salad. And you sort of say, well, it might be healthy right in the heat of the summer, but actually any other time, yet again, as Ollie was saying before, it ends up stressing and damaging the system. And we don't know why, we have loose stools. We don't know why we've got too much phlegm in the body. It can often be because too much dairy. We're just eating too much in the way of milks, cheeses, and they just eggs, and they all add into the system, and then we get a condition, and we don't actually associate it with the foods that we're eating.
So what is it about those specific food categories that you just mentioned, the dairy, the eggs and stuff, that actually causes the phlegm to accumulate? What is it about those?
It stresses the spleen, and the spleen, pancreas, is the important organ for helping to move things through the system. Now, if that starts to get sluggish, if we're eating cold food, ice cream, and those sorts of foods, then slow the spleen down. The chi of the spleen, the chi that we get from food is known as gu chi, and that chi is the one that is nourishing us. Now, if the spleen can't actually do its job properly, we end up with loose stools, or the cold is not good for us, and then it goes into other parts of the body. Is my understanding.
Oh, we're right on target. I love it. Thank you. It makes so much. It's crystal clear. Crystal clear. Yeah.
Do you have clientels that come in that are kind of fragile, kind of like, let's say, do you suggest them to maybe blend some of their food in a blender to make it easier to swallow?
Like a puree, like?
Yeah, like a puree. Because if you're eating...
I recommend congee. I recommend soups.
Oh, I love it.
I recommend broths, stews, things. I mean, and again, at different times of the year, there'll be different things because, of course, what we should be eating is not foods that come from Israel or from, I'm trying to think, Peru. We get foods coming over here from very far away. We ought to be sticking to the foods that are grown locally and are in season, to the foods that we would naturally eat. So I just ask people. I can only make suggestions.
Right.
I'm not a nutritionist. I'm really passionate about nutrition, but I'm not a nutritionist. So I can only put forward the things that have been useful to me from studying Chinese medicine, and the food, how the best way for us to eat.
Right.
And I'm learning. Please, I'm learning too.
Hey, but what you're sharing with us, it makes a whole lot of sense. It's got me wanting to look deeper into the science behind the theory with the Chinese medicine in regards to food. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
It's
With the seasons, that makes so much sense.
But as you were saying, I mean, food that has a nice high frequency is food that hasn't had to travel, it's not been stressed, it's been well brought up, it's been, you've given it love, you haven't covered it in pesticides, you haven't, there are many, and hence the reason many people I know go for organic.
Yeah.
It's because we know that it's come from a better source. Yes, you've got to still wash it really well, because it'll have things on it. You have E. coli in the soil. You have other things in the soil. You have to wash your food and cook it. And cook it. Always cook food is my thing. So.
Are you familiar with the Taoist diet, Dana?
No.
Okay. It essentially describes what you just described, actually. But it's a very much, what's the word? A concept. It's a concept-based diet where you prioritize certain foods based on how you would categorize them like you just did. Locally grown organic produce is at the top of the list. And you should consume 80% locally grown organic produce in your diet throughout any given week. 20% can be whatever you want, but every 3 days you are to prioritize some sort of meat. So fish is at the top of that concept list, and I believe eggs is next to it, and then you've got your red meats at the bottom.
Okay.
So, please, yeah.
Haven't you had problems with people not understanding? Because I hear a lot of people say, "Oh man, I love my steak medium rare," and I'm going like, "Oh gosh, here we go," because I know within a week's period of time after consuming red meat of some sort, say especially beef, that person will become slightly angered at that time or another during that first week after consuming that. And they don't actually know why. I talked to a lady, her and her boyfriend had gotten an argument, and I was like, "Did you have, about 3 or 4 days ago, did you have steak, by the way?" "Why, yes." "Was it medium rare?" "Why, yes." And I was like, okay, there it is. You're telling me you're putting 1,200 to 1,800 pounds of beef into a human body that's not actually able to digest it, but yet you're mixing their blood with your blood, and then, yes, you're going to get a little on the angry side with that.
Yeah. Well, that would come down to vibrational frequency of the food, surely, of the cells in there.
Right.
Yeah?
So I believe so,
if we eat foods that have a high vibrational frequency, then that passes into our own system, surely.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right?
I mean, everybody here is familiar with that study that they did on water and how you can yell at water.
I heard the conversation that you guys had last time.
Yeah, well, what's the difference between water and blood that's inside of an animal or a human?
Or how much percent water?
Yeah, like 70 and...
About 74, 75% water. And I know a lot of times my friends can say, "Well, I like Mountain Dew."
So we're only 70% affected by words? Oh, man, good. I got that 30% safety guard.
Here is another thing that's quite important that comes up, and people nowadays don't even think about this, and I'm going to ask you all to think about it too, is what do you heat your food in? What do you cook on? That's a very important part of our eating process, the cooking process itself.
Right, because if you're using microwaves and stuff, I know that they did an experiment in India, and they tried to, so they would heat up a cup of water and feed a plant with it, and they would heat it up with a microwave, and then they would
I
let it
remember
cool
that show.
down.
Yeah.
And the plant that they were feeding with the microwaved water, they would let it cool down, so it wasn't the temperature of the water, it wasn't anything other than the quality of the water. And the plant died or was near death within 2 weeks.
I had a time when I lived in a flat, and it was times before I actually started to challenge and look at what I was eating and why I was eating what I was eating or drinking or whatever. And I only had a microwave. That's all I had. And I lived for 5 years only on microwave food. And I suppose I was my own experiment in that regard. Now I don't own one now. You know, it's gone out of my my cooking. You know, it's something, and people say, well, why? What's wrong with that? All it does is jiggle the water molecules. What's wrong with it? Well, for lots of other people, maybe nothing. But for me, again, I've become more sensitive. Foods that are cooked in a microwave, I find unpalatable. I find them very difficult to eat. I can't actually talk for anybody else. I can only say for my own experience. And my own experiences are, now I would much rather have food that is warm, food that is boiled, and food that is as unrefined, as whole as I can have it.
Smart body.
Even chopping it, even using a metal knife to chop into something is going to have an effect on that particular piece of food. So eating it whole is actually, eating your food whole is by far the best way. And carrots are, I keep coming back to carrots. Carrots are great. Celery, brilliant. You know.
We're going to ship you a big bundle of carrots. Hey, you know what?
That's completely ruined everything, because if you're coming from Florida, it'd be like...
That's true.
Don't worry, we'll locally source them.
Right, we'll locally source them. Hey, but check this out. You just said a couple interesting things in regards to cooking ware. Did you mention cooking ware? Right, so...
no, I didn't. I didn't mention the actual vessel. The vessel's really important too.
But check this out. I was thinking about the cooking ware that I use mostly. What is that?
Yes.
A copper pot.
Yeah.
And what do I do when I cook the food? I steam it.
Yes.
So temperature is very important. Once the food gets over a certain temperature, although the consistency of the food is important, as you stated before, but the temperature also, because once the food gets over, the heat gets over a certain temperature, it actually kills a lot of the enzymes. They can't resist that hot. It's too hot for them. They die. They're living enzymes. So when that temperature reaches a very high state, you're eating dead food. That fried food, there's no nutritional value in that. That's why they call it being acidic. It's acidic now.
But it's kind of what our society has prepped us for. This is what we've been conditioned. You know, easy food, long preservation on the shelf.
But you know what? Just to interject, I've never found anything easier than walking in this backyard and just getting that mango off the tree. That's fast food. That is fast food. Not McDowell's.
I'm growing figs and I'm growing limes this year.
My favorite.
So,
I grew up in a fig tree. I literally grew up in a fig tree. Didn't I tell you that?
Yeah, you did.
I grew up in a fig tree. Man. And they're so good for us.
Yeah, they are. I love them.
They're good for our cardiovascular system for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do some other. They do good stuff for the blood.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, and lots of other stuff too. So we now know that food is medicine as well, don't we? We understand because of what process that we're going through.
Absolutely.
Not just us, but obviously any of us who are practicing internal Neigong of any kind, then we are looking. Every bit of food that we eat has to bring us into balance and work with us, not against us. So we need food that's not going to be overly stimulating. It is going to nourish us. It is going to energize us. we need these foods on a day-to-day basis. Every meal we have the opportunity to replenish and improve, enhance, and actually heal ourselves.
Yes.
Hey, what about this, sis?
Go
The
on.
times of consumption, and also how frequently do we have to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, supper, and that's 4 out of the way already. Is that what we really should be doing? I mean, talk to me, sis.
Well, I can only tell you a little again from
That's
when
it.
the 7 till 9 time is one of the best times, I think, for the spleen stomach. So the
7
best
to
time
9.
for breakfast, between 7 and 9 in the morning is the best time to eat your breakfast. 5 to 7, you were saying, for your evening meal, and then lunchtime, I guess, is a slightly movable feast, and that's for everybody to work out for themselves. But this idea, this concept of 3 meals a day, actually, my understanding from here in the UK is that it came from after the Second World War, and we had a lot of people in the UK that were very malnourished, and to encourage and to ensure that they had food every day, they made sure they really pushed this idea of 3 meals a day, the breakfast, the lunch, and the tea.
Wow.
And it's kind of stuck ever since then. So when you actually allow your own body and you listen to your own body, mine personally, I love to graze. The best way for me to eat and get everything I need is to eat small amounts of foods throughout the day in their specific groups, their food groups. So that's what I try to do. It's not always possible because in clinic right now, still in the UK, we all have to wear masks. We're all covered in. You guys have got done well in Florida. You're not wearing masks. You don't need them.
We create our own world.
I wish I could. I have to follow the guidelines, the professional guidelines I have to do for insurance.
Yeah, we
But,
follow the guidelines when there are guidelines.
Yeah,
You just got to get down here.
I know. I will.
You know, we always see people wearing masks. I haven't seen a cow or a sheep wear one yet, you know.
We're talking about free radicals getting out of our body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are they going to get out when you got this on?
It's not.
You're going to breathe them back in. You're going to breathe those free
Absolutely right.
radicals right back in. Oh, my God. I know that from my position.
So I've really got a hankering to touch back on the 3 meals a day and why it's terrible. It's a terrible idea, especially if you are doing anything related to physical health or even dream training, right? And this is actually why it would be beneficial to save the beginning of your fast for the last half of the day. Like you were saying, breakfast optimal time is 7 to 9 a.m., right? That makes total sense. I believe the monks over at the temple in Thailand, I knew a couple people that went and stayed with them. They would wake up at 4 a.m. and do 3 hours of prayer, meditation, and chanting. And then they would have breakfast, a community breakfast. And I think their breakfast wasn't until like 7:30, 8, maybe even 9 a.m. And after that, the last time of the day that they were allowed to eat was somewhere between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. And this was to make sure that they got ample amounts of sleep, but also 4 hours without eating before bedtime.
Okay.
Which would actually fit very comfortably within the algorithm made to create the state of cell apoptosis, which can be brought on by like 10 hours of fasting. It's basically when the digestive tract shuts down in the body, and all of that energy that was being used to propel the digestive tract is now free for everywhere else to use. So,
and also, I believe that fasting, I mean, it's not by mistake that fasting, as a general rule, has been put alongside most of the world religions and faiths of the world.
Right. Exactly.
It's not by mistake, it's because it was understood people wouldn't do it otherwise. So they made it part of the religion. So this is only my thoughts, this is only my idea on it.
right on. That's why you're here.
When we fast, we allow ourselves to repair, renew, rather than chucking them out and getting new ones, eating more, getting new ones, eating more, getting new ones. Of course, there'll come a time when they start to mutate, when the cells start to mutate. And I believe fasting, as you say, is a brilliant way to keep the body in balance and ensure that energies go elsewhere, especially when we're training, studying. We need to go inside with no stimulation. Now, if you're constantly thinking, ooh, what we're going to have for tea? Ooh, a really fancy. What do I fancy for my tea? If we're in this way, we have an attachment to the food which is not going to help us whilst we're trying to go inwards.
Especially, like you were just saying, the amount of attention that it takes. That monkey mind that we try to train away from during all of these meditation, qigong, alchemy, tai chi practices. Like, I catch myself all the time during tai chi training, I can't wait until but I also don't break my fast until usually after the tai chi training. So it's no wonder that I'm looking forward to it. But up until that point, I'm always thinking, no, don't do this. Oh no, I had coffee. Apparently 50 milligrams of caffeine can spike the insulin, which stops the process of cell apoptosis. So am I even benefiting from my fasts? See? So it's like, I've got all these backwards, sideways thoughts, but I can only imagine how many more people have and how much less energy people have when they are, like, I never knew this until I started fasting regularly, but I noticed, especially after I started the Taoist diet, when I eat meat in particular or animal products, I feel extra sluggish.
Okay.
It's like I'm ready for nap time afterwards. And I can only imagine how people are when they wake up to a plate full of eggs, or like a glass of milk, or like something else that just would bear me down like a weight inside.
You know what? Can I take you back?
Please do.
So I think, I know from my understanding or whatever that a lot of it has to do with each and everyone's relationship with the food. You know, food in general. You know, what is our relationship? And then that'll let us know why we're consuming what we're consuming. And not only the food that goes in our mouth, but just anything. Why? You know, why are we doing it? I just told Peyton last night, I'm like, hey, I'm looking at food now. I'm not looking at it as being food anymore. This is going to be my spiritual gasoline.
Yeah, I like that. I saw that. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one, for sure.
And I'm like, if it's not helping to perpetuate me spiritually, I shouldn't be consuming it. And that's how I'm going to analyze things before it goes into my body. And that'll help me be a lot more in tune to doing a little bit better than I did yesterday. I'm giving that a shot. I just started.
Yeah.
We should get that tea garden popping before we get any asparagus in the ground seafood.
We'll go with
that would be awesome.
Do you have any suggestions for other people when they want to fast? Is there anything that you may recommend, something mild or light that they could use to? Because if it's first-time beginners, they're usually shocking their system and they're like craving for something to eat. So is there anything that you suggest that they can do to help them out a little at a time with?
Yeah, there is actually, and it's actually a doctor here in the UK called Dr. Michael Mosley. He was on the BBC, and he did a documentary on different diets and different fasting techniques. And the one that was the most efficient and most effective that he found was the 5-2 diet. Have you come across this one? I know the word diet's not a good thing. The 5-2 fast probably is the best way to say it. So in a 7-day period, you have 5 days when you eat whatever you like or whatever is good for you. And then you have 2 days in your week that you limit the amount of calories that you take in, and you limit them to 500 calories. And in that way, it's much easier. Many people find that if they haven't fasted before, it's a very gentle way to learn how to fast, which will bring weight down and make your body as efficient as possible.
Right.
Do you have a way? Do you have a technique? Do you have a way? Because I mean, Peyton's come up with fasting.
You got a fasting technique that you recommend to anybody?
I just use lemon water and lime, throw a little pepper, and maybe some apple cider vinegar. Throw that off in through there. And I've done fastings for like 3 days to a week, but I had a friend of mine who did it for a whole month. And he said by the 3rd week, his body was wreaking havoc on him. But the 4th week, he had so much energy because we don't allow our bodies time to relax or take a day off. We're eating 2-3 meals a day.
Right.
So we're not, our body's gotten used to it, but our body's like, hey, wait a minute, what about me?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Take time out. You know, I don't want to eat.
Yeah, that apple cider vinegar trick
Yeah.
really helped me when I started my fasting regimens because you aren't allowed to have anything sweet. And if you're somebody who's used to eating 3 times a day, you probably have sugars with each of those intakes. Whether you think you do or not, coffee creamer has some sugar in it. Sugar in your coffee, sugar in it. Sugar in your tea, honey, sugar. Everything has sugar. White bread, sugar. Everything's got sugar. And it's like you have a piece of toast, you can't even avoid sugar having this piece of toast. But yeah, the apple cider vinegar concoctions start tasting like juice to you when you start fasting.
Now, can I just check? The apple cider vinegar, Ollie, that you're suggesting would be organic with the mother, so therefore...
Always.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always,
Okay.
always,
Because-
always.
Yes.
It's worth mentioning because often people just go into the supermarket and they buy the
Yeah.
pasteurized apple
Yeah.
cider vinegar,
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
and
Thank
they
you.
think it's going to... So once more, we're back to whole foods, not processed foods.
Mm.
So the less refinement, the less refined additives, the better. So
Hey,
yeah,
I
apple cider
wanted to
vinegar is
share
something
one
that
that
I think is
actually-
for...
Hey, Gaina, I wanted to share one that I use like twice per year. Now, I had a couple students doing it with me before, and they got sick. And the reason being is because their diet wasn't nearly as clean as mine.
Mm.
So they had a lot of garbage coming out. Like Brother Peyton was saying, all that sugar. So that people don't understand that you actually grow an addiction towards sugar, salt, all of it. Nobody's excluded, including myself. And when you're going cold turkey from that, your body's going to react and respond. We say got sick, but not really got sick. The body responded, right? And they got afraid. But this is the one that I use. It's, as you said, always organic, always natural. We go with the lemons. And there's a recipe for this. You can get it online, a specific recipe. It's called the Lemonade Diet, actually. I forget the name of the gentleman, but I have the book here, but you can get it online as well. Organic lemons, and he tells you the quantity and everything. Also, you want to use that cayenne pepper again.
Yep.
Here's that cayenne pepper right back at us. And honey, but not this cheap, low-grade, low-quality honey. This is grade B, and it's pretty expensive. But you want to use specifically what he tells you to use and no substitutes. And it does phenomenal. I do it twice a year. He recommends from 9 to 19 days. I've only gone to 9 days. I have friends who've done 19, and just like Ali said, they're full of energy. They're getting all the nutrients from the honey and the energy from the cayenne pepper.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I do it twice a year. I'm looking forward to getting the next one going and looking for some people to do it with me.
Yeah,
okay.
I love pepper.
Let's do it. Let's get it going. And the recipe's right online. We should offer it to Soul Group and see who want to take the step out with us.
We could see, especially if you show us the recipes, it'd be lovely. It'd be really good.
Yeah, it's right
And,
online.
and a little caveat here: if ever anyone's undertaking fasting, as you, Ollie, I have a very interesting friend who did a 40-day fast.
Wow.
And yeah, and he's continued with water, of course, and juices,
Right.
but he actually didn't eat for that time. And he told me, he said, this is not something you do lightly. You don't suddenly decide, right, I'm just going to go and stop eating for 40 days. Because the reality is, and you'll know this yourselves as well, is there's a very strong danger that you won't eat again. Because you feel so good, you actually think to yourself, I don't want to make my body unclean by eating again.
Wow.
So we have to be very careful that we are balanced mentally and emotionally before we're starting on a fast. That's just my that's me being Mother Gainer. I'm just being mum here.
Have you heard of breatharians?
Yes.
So
yes,
there was this one breatharian, and he was like 90 days into this, 80-something days into no water even. And so it's he was just like, oh no, I don't need anything. Well, he made it to day 90, and then he died. Yeah, so that was unfortunate. But he took it to a whole nother level. And most people don't even think that you can, it's called dry fasting. And most people don't even think that you can survive 4 days doing this. And you actually have to do 3 days of water fasting to turn out all the toxins from the food in your body before you can even go into the first of these 4 days that people say is impossible.
So it's a step-by-step process, once again.
Yes.
Yep.
We're as we're sitting here and chatting, and it's really lovely, it's really important that we do this. It's important also to remember that people listening to us or watching us, they might just decide, I know, I'm just going to go and do a 40-day fast because Gainer said it's okay. It's really not okay. It's something that I personally have no need or desire to do, except, if I was in a group and I was working with people and I was being monitored and checked, that's really important.
Makes sense.
When we're fasting, I'm just being Mum Gainer, I think.
I've heard about this one gentleman, and if it's still true today, I'm not sure, but he hasn't eaten in over a year, any food. He absorbs his food from the sun. There's a thing that I used to do a lot of, and that was instead of eat, I would absorb the energy from the sun. And do that, and then that was kind of like a feeding, but I didn't take it for a whole year like that. A few days, about 3 days to begin with, but I still do that practice from time to time. I'll absorb the sun's energy and just kind of use it in like food. Okay, so that kind of holds me over at work whenever I'm busy or something like that, and I'm like, oh man, my stomach starts growling. So if I get a chance just to walk outside, it's like, oh yes, come on down. I absorb that from the sun.
I've heard of this other program that people actually pay to do this, and they get guided along into this process where they are locked into a coffin for 7 days straight. And they have to get prepared by these guides. So they do the whole water fasting for 3 days first, and then they get locked into this, nailed into a coffin for 7 days. And if you cheat on these 3 days, it is not uncommon to die.
So what's the purpose?
So the purpose is, my Kung Fu master had a student who did this before he came and shared his story with the retreat. And he said the thing that he learned was, it's really like an internal reflection sort of journey, I suppose. I would never be caught doing it, but this is what they do, apparently. And he said what he really learned, to summarize it all, is that feelings come from within. And my Kung Fu master was like, yeah, so I don't have to do that because he already shared with me. But he was saying that he went through some very hard internal struggles in the first 24 or so hours. And about after the third day, it was practically like time didn't even pass. So 24 hours, he went through this whirlpool of emotions, like basically thinking that he had committed suicide, you know, like he just got himself into this program where nobody's going to let him out no matter what he says, yells, does, whatever, because he's already signed away that this is acceptable. But they do this, I believe it's in India, where he took this program.
It reminds me a little of the Tibetan Buddhist practices, where they the disciples will be underground for a period of time, and not allowed out no matter what, because it's part of their training, I guess. So therefore, there's a purpose to it, which is part of a process. Then, yeah.
I've never heard of that one, but I'm interested.
Oh yeah, I've read a few books on that.
Did you know they have a? Oh, sorry. Did you know they have a free audio book on YouTube for the Tibetan Book of the Dead?
I have a copy here.
You do? Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Nice. Yeah, I gotta start listening to that. I used to listen to it every night before bed, just like get myself in the zone.
I'll read it to you, Peyton.
You will?
Yeah.
Dream come true.
We can podcast it.
We could do that. Sort of. Let's come back to today.
Right. Thank you.
And food.
Well, give me
So the other things that we consume, seafood, would be things medicines that we take. So.
Right.
And I'm just thinking. I mean, we have recreational drugs as well that people consume, and again they don't actually recognise what's happening to them when those sorts of things are entering into your body. We don't always understand, do we? What's happening to us or why?
Or even just aspirin.
I mean, I can tell you a personal story. I started inner training about 14, 15 years ago with a different teacher, a gentleman called Damo Mitchell. And whilst I was undergoing the training with him, I had a headache. I had one of those menstruation headaches, and I don't take painkillers. But it was another one of those crazy moments. I had a friend over, and she said, "Oh, just take a Nurofen. Just have an ibuprofen. Okay, it'll get rid of your headache. You'll feel better." What happened to me was, because I've been undergoing training, inner training, I was so sensitive to the ibuprofen that I had an anaphylactic reaction to it.
Damn.
And ever since that day, my eosinophils, which is a white blood cell which causes inflammatory response in different parts of the body, is heightened. So that I occasionally end up in hospital having to balance my lungs again and having to undergo oxygen therapy. And it was caused these are things that are important for us to let everybody know whilst we're training, is even that aspirin, even that paracetamol, even that ibuprofen that we just naturally, everyone has them in their cupboards.
Yes. Yeah.
We need to be very careful about, whilst we're undergoing training in particular, rather than reaching for that, is perhaps to follow the foods. Go with a food. Turmeric, we know, is naturally anti-inflammatory. So we know that if we include turmeric with black pepper in our diet, we know that we're going to get a good response, and our inflammatory responses in the body can calm down.
I've got two useful pieces of information when consuming turmeric. If you don't introduce turmeric into the body in a heated fashion, then it doesn't actually assimilate very well. In addition to that, turmeric is one of the things that promotes brown fats, which combats white fats, especially important when you're getting to like 60 plus years old. But olive oil is a great medium for it because in addition to being heated up, being a prerequisite to absorbing properly into the body, turmeric benefits greatly from having some sort of fat fatty acid to help introduce it into the body. So
That's
fatty
right.
acids, olive oils also help promote brown fats, and needs to be heated. Okay.
Always
Good bit
on
of
time.
info. Thank you.
Always
Yes.
on time.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting. Please.
No, that's not an interruption. It's an
I've got a
add-on.
question for you. This is kind of a little off the subject, but it's something like I've been trying to find out for years. I noticed many years ago my third eye had opened. So I see colors everywhere I go. I mean, it just like yesterday was a color of magenta. I would look at trees and magenta would be covering the trees. But I see like reds, blues, pinks, greens, orange. I see color, and it's a natural thing. So I'm trying to figure out, I know the colors of the chakras. So I'm asking myself, okay, is this wrong? Well, no, that feels good. Okay, well then what else could it be? But it's something that's a natural. It's natural for me to see that. I've been doing it for over 30-something years, so I've still been searching. So maybe you have some sort of input on that for me?
What's the question?
Why do I see all these colors?
Because your third eye is open.
Nice.
Because of what?
Because your third eye is open.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. But I mean, there's a reason. Does it pertain to anything other than it being open? I mean, there's times I've gone in to a different place and like a lime green clicked into my view, and everything I would look at was lime green.
So I guess you're asking if there's anything dietary that Sister Gaina has noticed in particular that may increase or decrease, or things that when you avoid in the diet, then these things start to happen?
Well, these it's just a natural occurrence. She being an acupuncturist, I was wondering maybe she had an idea of, other than the third eye, but what is it that I'm seeing? Because when I was just looking at you, underneath the screen, underneath your laptop was green.
So he's wanting to know, is there a particular interpretation of what he's seeing?
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay. Yeah, you're not asking somebody. I'm not.
Your third eye's open.
Well, I always say I'm in living color, so whether it's tattoos or I see colors.
I see beautiful colours, and I asked my a teacher of mine many years ago when I started to meditate. I asked, "Why am I seeing these colours? Why are these things coming?" And I was pretty much told, they mean nothing. Don't worry about them.
Yeah.
Don't stress about them.
Yeah.
So I haven't, and I'm very sorry I can't answer your question because
That's quite all right. I live in a beautiful, colorful world.
Yeah, it's a beautiful world, and as long as we know that and we can see it, how wonderful and how lucky are we? How lucky are we that we see 3 dimensions? We see with so much more than we just get given,
Thank you so much. You're awesome.
I'm not going to go down the chakra route. I leave the colours to somebody else. If someone, it's not. If it's a colour that you like, then lovely. And I love all colours, and I'm sure you do too. So it's not relevant right now in our training. It's just beautiful to watch and observe, but also not to be emotionally disturbed by it, not to get too excited by it, not to get.
I enjoy it.
So,
I think it's beautiful. It throws me off for the first second, like, oh, okay, there's a pink. Hey,
I do notice,
or green.
Yeah, whenever and I can't really say whenever, but for example, I had some of that hemo him earlier this morning actually, and then we had those bagels, right? And I did some really pretty hard leg workout yesterday, and so
Good.
I made myself this little excuse. I was like, man, I'm probably going to be super sore. I can totally just not fast for this day. Yay! So I took some supplement, and I cooked those bagels up for us this morning, and they were organic, raisin, cinnamon bagels, yeah. And I eat those, and I'm breaking my fast, and all of a sudden, colors just started to pop off of everything, and I'm like, wow! So I wonder if that is something that people who don't fast are missing out on. Just a food for thought.
Food for thought. I like that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But really, is there anything to miss out on? There's
Well,
not, according to your experience with it, but for them, everything is perfect.
Well, the way they were
Fair
selling,
enough.
the way they were selling the bread, maybe it had a little bit of mold on it.
Right.
Made you start to see colors.
It was buy one, get one free.
Ah,
So in regards to our community, and what kind of like just general recommendations could we make to anyone that's interested in actually implementing some true change in their lives in regards to food consumption?
Yeah.
What would be a basic general guideline across the board that you could say, I would say do this, and then I would like for all of us to kind of do that, and then maybe just go from there.
well, you said it beautifully before, and that is we need to question why we eat what we eat, first of all, and find out if we're doing it out of habit, if we're doing it because it's a comfort food.
Right.
Maybe it was something that we grew up with.
Traditions.
Yeah, and they're really strong. They're really, really strong. The foods that we had in our formative years when we were growing up become our comfort foods very often. They're the foods that we go back to when we're needing that comfort.
Like on an emotional level, you're talking even. And
Yeah,
that's why
absolutely.
a lot of people, when you mention anything about, changing your food, they put up a, it's like, they don't want to talk anymore. But do you want real change? And we know we are what we eat on so many different levels, but do you really want that change? You know what I'm saying?
Then all we can do is ask people to start asking the question. And I say people.
That makes sense. Yeah.
We have to ask ourselves.
Absolutely.
Do I need, for example, you did it with the coffee. You said,
Right.
do I need this cup of coffee today? Now, if it's a need, is that something you want in your life? Do you want to be attached to something, dependent on something? I'm sorry to bring coffee up again. It's just that was the one that you gave as an example.
Yes.
And it's exactly the same thing for me, having decided that I really wanted this lamb chop. And I wanted it because I wanted to be sick.
Right, exactly. That's being honest.
Well, that's what happened. And it was a big lesson for me. It was a big lesson, and I'm being really careful. Since then, actually, Sifu, basically all I've eaten, you'll be really glad to know, I have made a huge vat of really lovely soup, and it's got cabbage. I eat cabbage a lot.
Yeah.
Greens, and cabbage.
Lots of minerals. People thinking about vitamins. You need your minerals.
Magnesium.
That's the way-
Your muscles will not relax if you don't have your magnesium.
Oh, you gotta have it.
That's the way from the beginning of time, how everybody maintained longevity was eating from the plants instead of eating animals. Actually, if you can do a complete wean off of meats of any kind and eat just vegetables and things of that nature, fruits and vegetables, then that's actually reversing the aging process of the body. Is going back at the beginning of time. Because I've asked my Sifu about that, and he says, well, Shorty, there's salt in everything, in your vegetables, there's sugars in your fruits that are all natural. He said, I've been doing research for over 40 years, and it always goes back to the beginning of time when there wasn't meat into, we didn't eat animals at the time. We had whatever we could forage and find in your area, just depending on where you were at the time, where you lived at.
You know what, too? Another important thing that we didn't even mention, plants actually have a natural immunity as well inside of them. That phytonutrients they have.
Yes.
Phytonutrients dealing with all the color variations. That's why they say make sure you're eating all of your colors. So you're ingesting immunity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Straight from the plant. You're getting it straight from the source.
Yes.
So that's another important thing, to have all those colors.
That's why you're supposed to consume locally grown organic honey. Sorry,
Right.
Maybe not even organic, just locally produced honey.
Right.
Whenever you switch regional locations, in particular.
Right, because they're working with those same plants.
Right.
And they're getting that phytonutrients.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Spot on.
We're all
I was going to say,
connected. We're all connected. If we just realize just what you just said,
Yeah.
all the way down to the insects.
Yep.
Wow. Phenomenal.
the interconnectedness of all things.
Circular. It's
and
circular.
You know what, too? You know what? When we start being more observant of the foods that we eat, we become more loving because we start respecting the food, the sources of the food, all of that. You just start having a whole nother relationship with the food and everything that food is attached to.
Yes, exactly.
Who grew the food? Who packaged the food? Who shipped the food? Who prepared the food? You got 4 relationships right there. Are you giving thanks to the right people when you're praying? Or, did you forget about those people? I thank everybody that touched the food. You know.
And that's lovely too. That's a really nice thing that we can share with our group, is that, knowing where your food chain is and being responsible, because everything that we put into our own bodies, we're responsible for that. Nobody's standing there with a gun saying, eat that McDonald's,
Right.
or eat that KFC.
Right.
We choose to do that. We have to accept responsibility for our own consumption. Right. And when we actually do it like that, we can't say, oh, my wife's cooking's terrible, it's because of her that I have to eat this horrible food. We're responsible for everything about us. That's why we're doing this training.
Right.
That's why we're here.
Another thing that a lot of people don't think about, and myself included at one point, is, when we abuse our bodies and we begin to get older, we age. And if we have children or caregivers who are going to take care of us, is that fair to them that we just broke down our bodies and we put this stress on them to have to take care of us because we abused ourselves? Because we can age well. We don't have to be a burden to our loved ones, our children. Are we feeding our children poison and setting them up for the same perpetual cycle? Do you really love your children if you're feeding them McDonald's and you know that it's garbage? Now, these are the reality checks.
Well,
and now is the time. Now
Right.
is absolutely the time.
Right. So Sifu will walk by with a little stick sometime and pop us on the head. And it worked.
Yes.
You wouldn't fall asleep in meditation as often anymore.
I've noticed some of the people that may cook the same food has a different taste. Even though it's prepared the same, they use the same ingredients to put it together, but it's like I've noticed something different too. It's when I talk to some of the older ladies like grandmas, well, they would always say, I cook with love.
That's a big
I was just about to say that sounds exactly like
That's
a very,
nice.
very lovely family that I know, and they're Krishna conscious. So and I love to go and eat with them, and we chant. And whilst they're preparing the food, they chant from beginning to end. They don't stop chanting the
Nice.
Mahara mantra whilst
Nice.
they're preparing their food. And yes, it's the most, when it's blessed food and it's been made with that intent, that consciousness attached to it.
Yeah, that's true. That's truly blessing your food.
Now we're bringing it out, sister.
That's
That's
blessing
awesome.
your food. That's truly blessing your food.
So,
That vibration, they're capturing that vibration in the food.
in a short, I guess, little review, what are some of the points that we covered that people can really take away from this and start adding into their... I mean, I know, first off, cut out the microwaves. If you're using microwaves, cut out the microwaves. But is there anything that you would recommend particularly to help beginners, Sister Gaina?
I would start first thing in the morning with hot lemon water.
And how much lemon?
Me personally, because I like the enamel on my teeth to stay on my teeth, I do a squeeze of lemon.
You do squeezes?
And I might I'll get half of a lemon and I'll give it a squeeze.
Half a lemon.
That's me squeezing.
Half a lemon. Squeeze half a lemon into, what, 8 ounces? Just a coffee mug's worth of water, right?
A mug like that.
Oh, all right. 8 to 16, 16 to 20, 12?
Yeah, you use ounces, don't you? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
ounces,
that's right,
so.
huh?
No, we use, we've got, unfortunately, we're metric these days.
Oops.
A glass of water like that with some lemon in, but make sure the water's warm first thing into the system. I'm sure that Ollie probably is nodding. I know.
Yep.
Yes, definitely.
Very beneficial to the kidneys, and the kidneys, of course, are where we're starting. We're starting with our life force.
Yeah, and
which
even...
our jing, and it's in the kidneys. Now, if we want to work with that, surely one of the best things we can do is start our day well.
Right, and even if you are going to drink coffee, by the way, everybody, starting with a warm liquid that is not coffee helps wake up the stomach enzymes in a way that doesn't give you that acidy feeling in the stomach. So definitely start your day with a cup of warm lemon water. If you guys want something quick and easy to implement from this discussion, that is pretty much where it's at.
And preferably no tap water, right?
Preferably no tap water, yeah. And, distilled, you take out 95% of fluoride from doing distilled, but you also remove 99% of the good minerals, which is why you need to...
Keep it simple for them, bro.
Yeah.
I would only use distilled if it was for medicine. I wouldn't personally drink it. I would boil my water and I would leave it to stand in a jug. I'll show you.
Yeah.
This is. I always have a glass jug of water, and in there sometimes I'll put in some rocks, but it's nice and open, so that the air can, the chlorine can be removed just by evaporation.
Sister Gaina, did you know you can replenish the minerals that are lost from distilling with a cap full of apple cider vinegar to a gallon of distilled?
I wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm sure that that's probably something that people do. I'm sorry, I'm not a... I don't have... I'm not going to say...
So by you using the boiling water, you make holy water by boiling the devil out of it. I just had to throw that in. I'm sorry. That just came up because that's how you make holy water. You boil the devil out of it. So.
I like that, Ollie. I like that.
He got a bunch of them.
A lot of times when I'm talking about things, I love to make people laugh because that's a way they learn. They absorb that going, oh my God, this guy has got my attention, one way or another. So I make it fun, and I do apologize.
I'm sorry for being a fun guy.
Anybody who knows, I think all of you understand. I'm not very serious myself. I take what I do seriously.
Of course.
Yes.
I'm committed to what I do, but at the same time, just like you, Ollie, just like you, Sifu, just like you, Peyton.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
We're here to find the joy.
So group.
You're so awesome. You're so awesome.
So what? We'll start with the lemon water and...
Yeah, definitely start with the lemon water. One of the...
And then I think...
Yeah, please.
The next thing I would say is ask your body what you really need to eat.
Or if you need to at all. Yeah.
I only eat once a day. I eat once a day.
Okay.
And
that
works
for
for
you.
me.
That's good for you.
Yeah, but not for... Not for everybody.
So this is why we can't compare or emulate anybody else. We have to actually find our own place. We have to find what works for us.
Yeah.
What helps our vibration. What makes us strong.
I feel super
And it's not going to be the same for Sifu as it is for me. For me, grazing is very, very important. And that's the best way for me. For somebody else, it'll be one meal a day. And it could be at a different time for different people. It could be their breakfast, which I would recommend. I would say breakfast is probably the most important meal of the day, personally. And then after that, I would say listen to your body, and maybe to give your spleen, pancreas a rest, I would suggest eat soups, things that are room temperature. Any drinks that you have would be room temperature or warm.
Avoid cold. Avoid cold.
Oh yeah, avoid the ice and the cold, because we've already explained what that does to the system.
Right.
Try, and again, looking at the 100-day program that we're doing with Sifu, necessarily I would suggest as well that avoid foods that really are overly stimulating, foods that have very strong tastes, because they pull you into the external, they pull you back out, where in fact we're aiming and working inwards. So foods that, you know, I'm just trying to think, just foods with strong tastes, whether that be a sweet, sour, salty, bitter. Just be really aware that, you know, keep everything quite bland. You know, hence the reason I'm on cabbage soup and rice. Those are just my thoughts, and that's probably just really whilst we're doing this inner training. At other times, of course, listen to your own bodies at all times.
Oh, and also, if you are struggling with weight loss or nearing 55, 60 plus years old, definitely give the olive oil, turmeric cooking combination a go. And black pepper increases the absorption rate and qualities that are anti-inflammatory within turmeric. So you can use this trifecta approach, and you don't even have to change your diet to do this, guys. You just
exactly. It's just being aware of things. And Sifu touched on, check out what your cookware is as well. Check out that you're not necessarily using aluminum pans and things of that kind. You want the best quality metals that you can. You know, this is the pots that you use. I never use plastic. I use glass. So, you know, for storing in the fridge, making sure that your foods are well stored, you know, in the best possible way to avoid them becoming deteriorating too quickly. But as you say, fresh from the tree, you can't beat it.
Yeah, right.
You can't
the best
beat it.
fast food
you
ever.
Can't beat it.
Sweet. I think we ran just about an hour past what we intended to.
Minutes.
There you go. So,
Nice.
Sister Gaina,
That's
thank you so
awesome.
much for investing
thank
your
you.
time
Like I said,
with us.
Please, I'm not a nutritionist. I am purely making suggestions that may help your practice. That's
Right,
all.
and I'm not a nutritionist either, but my dad was a bodybuilder and practically a nutritionist, so maybe you don't want to listen to me, but you should listen to the people who taught me.
Maybe. Who knows?
No, definitely. Definitely listen to the people who I learned from. Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us, Sister Gaina. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you very much for me to also get to the opportunity to talk with Ollie and to talk with Sifu and to talk with you, Peyton. It's so lovely.
Yep, I already miss you.
You're awesome.
Oh, stop it. You sound so American.
I know. I know I am.
Awesome. You're so awesome.
That's so
Thank
true.
you.
In California, they say, miss you already.
I was missing you 30 minutes ago when I was
so
thinking
true.
about us leaving. So maybe it's true, okay?
Hey, we love to have you back anytime, sister. We love to have you back.
That's super, and it'd be lovely to come back as I've got more experience and we've got more training under our belts. It would be really nice to be able to come back and share.
Yeah,
let's
that'll be
do that.
great.
Let's do that.
That'll be
Let's do
great.
that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Sweet Sister Gaina. Thank you, thank
So
you.
good. Love you, family.
Peace, peace.
Love you all the way out there in the UK.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, sister.
You're.
Bye bye now. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
I gotta check this out.
This was so awesome, man. Wow, this lady is